So, hey, you mentioned earlier about bootstrapping the business.
Yeah.
What's that mean to you? What's that term mean?
Well, to me, it was very much a burn the ships kind of moment. Brian and I initially, we knew the business model would work. We just did. And so we didn't even really do an MVP, to be honest. We saw it was working. We knew there was demand. And so for us, the bootstrap was we're going to get this thing as far as we can. We built in stealth. We didn't announce it to the public. We saw, told family and friends and people like that. But, Brian and I just kind of continuously, there's like you find whatever your bottom is and you keep digging. To me, that's how I think about bootstrapping something. It was, even when we raised our kind of first round of seed capital, we didn't go out looking for a huge value. We didn't look to raise a bunch of money and brag about how much money we'd raised. We were like, no, we want to keep control of this business. We believe in it. So we put more money in. And, I continued to work as a sales guy. And it was, there were some very, very difficult times. I mean, we survived COVID. I worked as a sales guy, finally quit in November of 19. I remember we were Christmas. We thought we were going to have this huge investment come in from a pretty noteworthy investor. And I think it was Christmas. He was like, yeah, you know what? We're going to sit out. And I quit my job and, thankfully still had residual income coming in. And I remember kind of hitting that moment. That felt like one of those, the bottoms, right? And it was like, all right, well, we have to keep going. So we kept going. And I kept having some, income come in, and we made it through COVID and had investors court us, leave us high and dry. We kind of kept hitting those bottoms. I mean, once COVID hit, we survived that. That winter, I remember my power got shut off at my place. I had to run out and stop somebody from turning my water off. And fast forward to Dubai World Cup 2022, I had $120 in my bank account. I was in Dubai. The race pays for everything. So what's amazing is I flew there first class. I was in this 5-star hotel. I had 120 bucks in my bank account. I could only eat dinner where they paid for it and breakfast. And I was like, we win the Dubai World Cup. I had 120 bucks in my bank account that night. And so for me, the bootstrapping, it's interesting. Those two things go hand in hand with the idea of pulling yourself up by your bootstraps, right? And I think it's strap in and dig down and see what the depth of your belief is in the business that you're running after. And it's clarifying, right? You find out what you really believe in those moments. When things are easy, it's not that interesting. But those were some of the worst days of my life and some of the most joyful kind of times that I had because we were fighting.
What fortified you to be the person that you are capable of going through that?
My faith. I knew that no matter what I faced, that that Jesus would make sure that I wasn't alone. And it's if you want to see something actually come to life, it's like go do it. And I remember I have some incredible faith building stories throughout this entire journey. I was laying in bed one night and I was stressed about money. I had no money. I mean, zero. I needed $400 for the next day to make a payment, or it was not going to be good. It wasn't like, oh, it was late. I mean, it was late. And I laid in bed and I just said, Lord, I'm really stressed about money and I could use your help. That's it. I didn't tell anybody. I'm not the best at taking help. I did have to learn to take help from people in this journey, which was such a blessing. But that's all I said. I went to sleep, rolled over. I was exhausted. I woke up the next morning, went to jog down the steps to leave for the day, get to work. And I felt this voice say, go check the mailbox. And I'm like, I don't need to check the mailbox. I checked the mailbox at night and I already got the mail. And it was a go. So I was like, okay. Okay. So I jogged back up the steps. I opened the mailbox and there was an envelope with my name written in Sharpie marker. And I was like, oh, that's weird. And I opened it up and it said, Chase, God told me to give this to you. And it was $400 cash. I still have the picture on my phone saved in my favorites. And it was like waterworks. I mean, and it's not just moments like that. Like that's like a fun story, right? It's about so much more than that. But, it was even recognizing like humility, like having to say to people like, man, I'm broke, or I'm afraid, or I'm alone. I feel lonely because it's very lonely trying to build a business. Like while a lot of friends got to go out and do things, I had to stay home. And I couldn't spend money on going to have dinners and get drinks. And I was single at the time. And it's a very lonely experience. And that's why I don't believe that entrepreneurship is for everybody. And that's not to say, I don't think that sets you or I apart as necessarily like special people, not to diminish who you and I are. But I also don't it's like, I mean, that's not even talking about me. It's just, there's a lot of people that they want to work a 9 to 5. I think that's awesome. It's like, make sure you know what you want.